In the previous 4 videos on common law, guys, we've examined trust law, common law, maritime law, but we viewed them separately but as integral parts of God's laws. Or should I say, let's say it a little bit differently, right? So we've explored the 3 parts of natural law independently in the first 4 videos, but in this video, guys, what I'm wanting to do is we will combine them all under one umbrella, that umbrella of natural law, in order to simplify the explanation and understanding around the construct of natural law. I've noticed that a number of people, guys, often refer to natural law as common law. Guys, this occurs because they don't understand that the term law actually means or stands for land, air, and water. This means that common law, guys, only one element of natural law. The other 2 parts of natural law are trust and maritime law. Natural law derives its name from the ancient Egyptian word, namely neja, meaning God or spirit, and el, meaning of. So the word natural, guys, literally means of God. Natural law is the all-encompassing divine law given to humanity and every living being by God to serve as both our inalienable rights and obligations towards both each other and Prime Creator. This inalienable law depicts the divine wisdom of Prime Creator, the unchangeable laws given to us by God, and basically it's there to guide our actions of every human, or should I even say every being in the multiverse. Natural law is the highest source of law which governs the laws of our earth and is seen as superior law. And the reason we all instinctively relate to natural law so well is that it depicts universal truth and displays the word of God or the word of Prime Creator. Guys, the reason that natural law feels so familiar and natural is that it depicts the following universal truth and understanding, namely right versus wrong, truth versus lies, and good versus evil. Natural law, guys, is humanity's true law and is an expression of God's will, namely that all beings will always wield power over themselves exclusively. No one can wield power over another. The only requirement, guys, from God is that no matter what we do, we must never ever cause harm to another. Living according to natural law requires beings to do the following. They must strive to live in a place of love. They must be a good person. They must always help others who are in need. And they must ensure that their actions are always filled with integrity. They must hold a sincere commitment to support others, to be and do their best. And they must accept also, guys, that others are going to do the same in return. So for humanity to thrive into the future, natural law must once again become the instrument, the only instrument of justice, which it was always meant to be. It's time to break the Cabal stranglehold on humanity and to stop them from manipulating us into believing that the law is merely a tool of domination and control. That's what humanity's started to believe. Natural law, on the other hand, sees every human as a sovereign being and as an individual with inalienable rights. It is God's gift to humanity to ensure that we have a system of meaningful justice which will serve all beings in the multiverse. The Cabal, on the other hand, has designed a system of domination and control which is convoluted and immensely complicated. Guys, this was done on purpose so that most of humanity will never understand what their true inalienable rights actually are. This has worked very effectively, guys, to confuse most of humanity into complying with the Cabal's incredibly devious legal system. Legislation imposed on humanity by the Cabal is purposely designed to make all of us feel really small and ignorant. The reason for that, guys, is so that we feel completely disempowered and unable to fight our own battles. This is all part of the Cabal's plan to exert absolute control over humanity. Remember, a disempowered and weak humanity is far easier to control, lie to, and manipulate. This is why people are so willing to comply with the ridiculous, unconstitutional, and downright evil rules and regulations that the Cabal has imposed on humanity. So according to natural law, all laws must be reasonable and must always be balanced against humanity's God-given rights, namely the right of the individual versus the needs of the community. Our God-given inalienable rights can never be infringed upon, guys. These are rights as follows: our right to breathe God's fresh air, our right to live in peace and love, our right to own and occupy our own property, our right of free movement, our right of assembly, our right to free speech, and our right to freedom of expression. And don't forget about our right to make choices, free choices about what medical treatment, if any, we'll accept. Under natural law, we literally own our rights as they are seen as inalienable in the eyes of Prime Creator. So no one can ever remove any of them unless we're causing harm to another. So utilizing our inalienable rights to gain our sovereignty. How do we go about doing this? So yes, of course, guys, the cabal has committed fraud, lied, cheated, manipulated humanity into accepting that we all only fall under the jurisdiction of maritime law. The cabal's lies, however, guys, never, they do not ever cancel our inalienable rights under natural law. We've taken our eyes off the ball, as you know, and we've allowed the cabal, we've opened the door to fraudulently change our countries from republics to corporations without our knowledge and consent. They've also manipulated our mothers to ward their children to the state on registration of their birth and issuance of a birth certificate. This is all done in the shadows in a very clandestine manner. They've also taken complete control over money creation and money supply. They've managed to gain control of all levels of governance, from school boards all the way through to national governments. They've also created an organization called the Bar, which through legislation, guys, controls everything, absolutely everything on our planet. As we've allowed them to gain complete control over the mainstream media, they've also gained complete control over how our children are educated. God, we've allowed them to operate in the shadows, where they've used secret societies, honeypotting, bribery, corruption, murder, and other nefarious methods, guys, to blackmail all of our leaders into supporting their evil agenda, right? The cabal's lies, however, never ever cancel our inalienable rights under natural law. All that's happened, guys, is that we've fallen asleep at the wheel for a while, which has opened the door to the cabal to impose their will and criminal legal system on us. I want to remind you that we've still never lost any of the rights or obligations which we enjoy under natural law, despite their devious acts. So all that's changed, guys, is our irrational acceptance of the cabal's illegal and fraudulent system of justice. Fortunately, guys, for sleeping humanity, there's been a group of incredible heroes that's been working tirelessly in the background for a very long time to unravel this terrible mess that we've got ourselves into. We're pretty far down the roads towards unraveling this mess, thanks to the white hats and the white dragons, guys. And we'll soon start to see way more info on arrests, the introduction of Jasara, and the removal of illegitimate governments all around the world in mainstream media pretty soon. So for those of you who've not invested the time to uncover the truth, the world must look like an absolute terrifying mess at the moment. But just remember, guys, that's all part of the White Hat's plan, namely to allow the cabal to carry out some of their evil plans. This includes things like the corona hoax as a tool to awaken humanity to the evil of the cabal. This was unfortunately the only way to awaken humanity to the truth, as the mind control within most of humanity runs incredibly deep. This means that the only way to awaken those sleeping people without causing lasting damage to them was to utilize this really slow, tedious process over the past 2 years, namely the imposition of the criminal COVID rules and regulations to demonstrate the scope and evil of the cabal. This was achieved by exposing everyone to the COVID hoax and all the ridiculous rules and regulations associated with it. This basically served as a taster of what the cabal had in store for humanity with Agenda 2021, Agenda 2030, etc. And unfortunately for the cabal, it's not working, because more and more people are waking up every day as they see through the lies and the cabal's horrendous crimes against humanity. Guys, I can see that it's working, as I've seen a massive shift in humanity's consciousness over the past 2 years. Let me give you just a few examples of the things which are now in the mainstream media, guys, just as an example to kind of prove that things are indeed moving forward towards a free humanity where we've escaped from those ridiculous clutches of the cabal. The arrest of Jeffrey Epstein. There's also been huge prosecutions of child trafficking rings all around the world. You've also, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been a massive number of CEO resignations around the world. And don't forget about the Durham report, right? He's arresting and successfully prosecuting people for the Russiagate hoax, etc. Hunter Biden's laptop and all the dirty secrets it holds is now out in the public domain. Those secret biolabs in the Ukraine have also been revealed on the mainstream media. It's also been shown how the mainstream media, in their desperation to provide a false narrative about Ukraine, are using crazy things like video games, old war footage, etc., to try to show that the Russians are the aggressors and not the liberators in Ukraine. It's all been exposed. There's obviously now, the obvious election fraud is also being revealed as more and more states start to decertify their elections. Russia and China have announced their gold-backed currency, in other words, Jasara. Russia's also selling oil in rubles and is no longer using the petrodollar. Guys, if the cabal was still in charge, Russia would be too terrified to do something like that. Both Russia and China are no longer using the cabal's fraudulent international monetary transfer system, namely SWIFT. They've created their own new quantum system for doing transfers. We're all going to be using that system very soon. So how do we utilize our inalienable rights to regain our sovereignty? It's important to remember that we've never ever lost our rights. So we've never lost any of our rights under the three jurisdictions of law, namely under the law of the land, common law, law of the air, trust law, or law of the water, maritime law. We've still got all our inalienable rights. The only reason we're in this precarious position where we have been unwittingly manipulated into accepting that we are no longer sovereign beings is because we've not taken the time to correct the errors orchestrated on humanity by the cabal. This is great news for humanity, as it means that as soon as we correct the errors, we once again all regain our sovereignty as human beings. So I'm sure you're asking the question, so how do we do this? Fortunately for all of us, we are pretty far down this road already. Whilst the majority of humanity has been under mind control, a group of amazing heroes has been working in the background on our behalf. They've already completed a lot of groundbreaking work towards freeing humanity from the clutches of the cabal. To continue their incredible work, guys, done by the White Hats and the White Dragons, we need to do our bit too. We need to stop accepting this criminal legal system that's been imposed on us. The cabal has fraudulently gained control over humanity with lies and manipulation, right? So what do we need to do, guys? We must accept that we are all sovereign beings and that the vessel which has fraudulently been registered pretending to be us is nothing more than a fiction. So I've outlined the process required to be recognized as a sovereign being in a couple of my previous videos. But as the White Hats are well down the road towards changing the corporations which were pretending to be countries back into republics, I don't believe it's necessary for us to reclaim our own sovereignty any longer. Guys, I can, however, support you with all of the info, all of the documents, and the process needed to facilitate this if you desire, but I don't think it's necessary, right? But that's great news, guys. The great news is that now that all we need to do is highlight the errors and we'll all be free again. We need to break away from that majority rule mentality and embrace the real construct of true democracy as it was intended by Prime Creator. Guys, democracy means this: the people rule. This means, guys, that the people must be in charge of everything in their own lives. To be truly in charge of our own lives, we can never allow anyone or group to jam their rules or regulations down our throats ever again. We've got to be vigilant. We need to also once again embrace the construct of tried and tested whenever we introduce any new laws. Guys, the term tried and tested comes from natural law and means that any new law has been brought before a jury of our peers and that all jurors have examined it, tried and tested it, and found it to be just and fair. Here's the great news about this process, guys. If even one juror finds the law to be unjust or unwarranted, then it is incumbent on the other jurors to either amend the law until it becomes acceptable to that juror, or they must convince that juror via debate that that law is just and fair. What a brilliant system. Guys, no law under that system can be passed until it has been tried and tested against the conscience of the people in that community. In a true democracy, everything is done either by consensus or by means of a jury of our peers. Guys, in future, we must no longer vote for people to act as our representatives, or should I rather say, in other words, we must vote for policies, not people. People must never again be permitted to impose their will on other people without their consent. And we also need to approach any current rules, regulations, and legislation using the same approach. Any rules, regulations, or legislation which is seen to be unjust, discriminatory, or not in the best interests of humanity must also follow the same system. They must be tried and tested by a jury too. So any rules, regulations, or legislation which the jury finds unacceptable must immediately be annulled. Guys, this is called annulment by jury. This comes with a warning, right? We also need to use force to regain our rights. Note, guys, I said force, never violence. Violence is an absolute violation of natural law, and as such, must be avoided at all costs, right? An example of force, guys, is the production of this video, which is here to awaken people to the truth and support them to begin the process of regaining their sovereignty. As you know, guys, speech encourages thoughts which result in positive action. So as people speak their truth, they begin to encourage others to do the same. It really is time for us to break our silence and to begin to speak up. Whenever we see injustice or subversion of natural law, guys, we must speak up. It's our silence that's resulted in our current predicament. For us, if we want to regain our sovereignty and change all of this, it is up to all of us to express our free will and to use our words and actions to help humanity to begin traveling down the road away from the confines of maritime law which has been imposed on us. And for us to find our way back to our inalienable rights as granted to us by God. It is time for us to claim our birthright as sovereign beings who are free to be.